High likelihood that the 49ers add via the trade market before the deadline of this 2026 season starts. And the Cleveland Browns are only adding fuel to the fire when it comes to the biggest fish of them all, Myles Garrett.
Have you had any face-to-face with Garrett yet?
Myles?
Yeah.
No.
251 days. That's how long it's been since Cleveland hired Todd Monken, and he's yet to meet the franchise player. Nothing to see there in Cleveland. Absolutely nothing. That is the proper way to run a franchise. Just kidding. Now, this is a proper way to see a new city. I'm sure those of you familiar with the channel have seen some of the videos in Prague. Well, we're back. We just landed, and it is golden hour. This is a much prettier sight than the way the Browns run their franchise. Now, remember that Myles Garrett demanded a trade last offseason. Then they paid him enough money or promised him enough money to allow him to stay put. But this offseason, the rumblings have been back because the Browns, they even had this bizarre request to try to allow for first-round picks to be traded 5 years into the future. And the only reason you'd want that passed as a rules change is because you were thinking about trading an asset that would fetch you first-round picks 5 years into the future. That was vetoed at the NFL owners' meetings, but the Browns also have contractual language here with Myles Garrett that would allow an option bonus to be paid out as base salary to make his contract more tradable, even though he is under pact with Cleveland for several more years. So these Myles Garrett rumblings won't go away, nor should they, based on how Cleveland has handled this situation. And, well, it just so happens that the 49ers might just be one defensive end piece away from fielding a borderline super team. Hell, I'll say it. If you get Myles Garrett and you're the 49ers, then yes, you will have a super team in San Francisco. Because end is the position that we've been talking about when it comes to a potential veteran addition. We've talked a lot about Joey Bosa. He still remains a free agent, and I think the 49ers have been interested in him throughout the course of this entire offseason, but they want him at the right price because Joey Bosa is no longer in his prime. He's somebody who I thought faded over the course of last season with Buffalo, but started off tremendously strong with those 4 forced fumbles over the course of the first 5 games. He could provide a very nice bookend while Nick Bosa continues to recover from his torn ACL. We'll see if Nick is ready for week 1, but the Joey interest makes all the sense in the world. Lately, there's been some talk that the 49ers might be interested in Jadeveon Clowney. 33-year-old veteran, has been in the league for a long, long time, ever since 2014. I still remember that massive hit that he delivered in the bowl game for South Carolina against Michigan. That's what really threw Clowney onto everyone's map, but he's still playing decently productive football. 8.5 sacks last season for Jadeveon Clowney, playing for the Dallas Cowboys, whose defensive coordinator, Matt Eberflus, is now the 49ers assistant head coach and the primary assistant to the defensive coordinator, Raheem Morris. So there is a tie there, and if the 49ers are looking for a quick veteran backfill at a defensive end position that, again, has been dogged by injury and rehab questions with Nick Bosa and Micah Williams both coming off the torn ACLs, with Keon White coming off of getting shot in the ankle. Clowney or Joey Bosa would both make sense for the 49ers. But if you're going to go for broke, if you want to go for a guy who's still in his prime, not somebody who you're just signing to round out his career and hoping that he's going to have enough juice left in the tank for the postseason. If you want to go absolutely seismic, well, Myles Garrett might be out there. Maxx Crosby, another A-list player, not at the same level as Myles Garrett, but he might also be available. He was very available over the course of the early offseason. Of course, the physical was failed by the Ravens, so he went back to the Raiders, and he talks probably on hiatus for right now, but you never know how things are going to unfold once the actual season begins. Before anyone suggests that the 49ers are overinvested in the defensive end position, I'd urge you to become a little bit more familiar with Nick Bosa's contract. Obviously, the 49ers have restructured his deal this year and have paid him out his big signing bonus in 2026. He's part of this team for 2026 because the 49ers have committed themselves. But in 2027, he's only got $769,000 of guaranteed money, and it's basically just a spillover guarantee from some of the contract work that the 49ers have already done. So Bosa's under contract for 2 more years beyond this one at virtually no guarantees, and he is coming off of yet another ACL tear. So the future of Nick Bosa, especially the monetary future of Nick Bosa with the 49ers, is going to be dependent on how he returns from the ACL this year. How available is he going to be? How effective is he going to be? Those are all questions that are going to have to be answered over the course of the season. So the season will already be well underway by the time that the trade deadline hits. Say that Bosa is not A-list effective anymore. I think that increases the chances, especially if the 49ers are winning, if other things look good and they still need that edge rushing boost. That increases the chances of them wanting to make an edge rushing splash ahead of the trade deadline. Even if Bosa is effective, maybe the 49ers see an opportunity to push a lot of chips into the middle of the table, and they do go for a bigger name who is available. Whether or not that's Myles Garrett or Maxx Crosby, I mean, that remains to be seen. But what we do know is that Kyle Shanahan has spoken about draft ammo already this offseason, implying that the 49ers are going to want to be players at the deadline again. And they have made a move before essentially every single trade deadline of the Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch era. I think every single season except for 2018, the 49ers have made a move. Some years they've made mega moves, some years they've made smaller moves, but the fact that they were in on Christian McCaffrey and they won the sweepstakes for Christian McCaffrey back in that 2022 season shows that the 49ers are willing to spend, and nothing is forever. We're here right now, I think, having interesting discussions already about the 2027 offseason and the potential offensive renovation that's going to enter full speed next offseason. You wonder how long Christian McCaffrey is going to be along for the 49ers. You wonder how long Nick Bosa is going to be around with the 49ers. And then you think about what potential next steps for San Francisco would be. The trade price for Myles Garrett would almost certainly be astronomical, but you could say that you get what you pay for. And if the Cleveland Browns do indeed have a price for Myles Garrett, remember that he had 23 sacks last season. That was an NFL record. Remember that he's a force against the run. Remember that he gives Trent Williams nightmares. Anybody who can give Trent Williams nightmares, well, that's somebody who could disrupt the game, disrupt a season, maybe even put you over the top. Numbers were downright silly in that record-breaking campaign. 23 sacks, 33 tackles for loss. And you know what's vital is the 49ers now have an interior pass rush. We talk about Odighizuwa. That was a big investment from the 49ers coming over from Dallas, somebody who had 52 pressures last year, almost as many as the entire 49ers interior line. They didn't have that push from the inside. They have really, really worked hard to fix that here in 2026. Now they even have Grayson Halton, the 4th-round pick out of Oklahoma, who might have some early pass rushing juice. It's that edge position, especially given the Bosa question mark, not only for this year, but years moving forward, where the 49ers still have true room to fortify with a star. And, you know, Mykel Williams, somebody who the 49ers drafted at age 20 out of the University of Georgia, he's been a bona fide great run stopper for the 49ers so far. When he was on the field last year, and this is even including the splits without Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, 49ers were a top 10 run defense. Once Mykel went down, they were a bottom 10 run defense. I am not sure, though, and probably neither are the 49ers, as we're looking at this with Mykel Williams, not sure how good of a pass rusher he's going to be over the course of his career. They got him to be a very, very solid run stopper, probably somebody that you can expect ultimately 5 sacks, 6 sacks a year from. And I don't think that casual fans understand the difficulty and the importance of that. The 49ers obviously drafted Mykel the year after they had one of the worst run defenses in all football, so it was very necessary. You're not rushing the passer unless you can set that edge and stop the run. But it still means in the larger context of things that the 49ers can use more pure pass rushing juice. Michael can be a very successful player for the 49ers if his primary goal is to set that edge and then move inside against guards on passing downs. But especially in Raheem Morris's defense, we're going to see a lot more five-man fronts. You're going to have an edge rusher up, covering Michael Williams on that defensive line. Especially in this setup, the 49ers can use more. You can always use more along the defensive line. And a team that has been so aggressive on the trade market over the years, a team that has that clear need to add a little extra veteran pass rushing juice to defensive end, well, you can talk Joey Bosa, you can talk Jadeveon Clowney, you could talk Kyle Van Noy. I know that he wants to join the 49ers until the cows come home. You could discuss all those guys. But when the Cleveland Browns' new head coach has gone 251 days into his tenure without meeting his franchise player, you can't ignore the dysfunction of what's going on in Cleveland. And you can't ignore the fact that Myles Garrett demanded a trade just last season. And you can't ignore the fact that his contract actually is tradable. It might be at a hefty price, and it would obviously require Cleveland to sign off on saying, yes, we're finally going to trade this guy, but, well, you can never say never, and it is something to watch.